Using dielectric grease in coastal environments to protect electrical connections from corrosion is a common and effective practice. Here are the benefits and considerations. Firstly, corrosion protection. Dielectric grease creates a moisture-resistant barrier, reducing the risk of corrosion on metal surfaces. Secondly, electrical conductivity. Dielectric grease does not interfere with electrical conductivity, so it can be safely applied to bus bars and breaker terminals. Thirdly, moisture displacement. Dielectric grease displaces moisture, reducing the likelihood of water accumulation that can lead to corrosion. NoAlux is a specialized dielectric grease specifically designed for marine applications, providing excellent corrosion protection in coastal environments. Silicon-based dielectric grease, available in commercial and industrial grades, offers good corrosion protection and moisture resistance. Vaseline, a petroleum jelly, has been traditionally used as a corrosion inhibitor. However, it is not as effective as dielectric grease and may not provide long-term protection in coastal environments. Self-adhesive tapes with anti-corrosion properties can be wrapped around bus bars but may not offer the same level of protection as dielectric grease. Apply dielectric grease liberally to all bus bar surfaces, breaker terminals, and other metal-to-metal connections in the service panel. Reapply dielectric grease periodically, especially after significant environmental exposure or maintenance work. Check the manufacturer's warranty for specific requirements regarding the use of dielectric grease, as some warranties may require its application. Using dielectric grease on bus bars and breaker terminals in a service panel near the ocean is a highly recommended practice for corrosion protection. NoAlux or silicon-based dielectric grease are two excellent options that provide effective moisture resistance and electrical conductivity. Alternatively, anti-corrosion tapes can be used but may not offer the same level of protection. Reapplying dielectric grease periodically will ensure continued protection in coastal environments. Electrical panels in coastal environments are susceptible to corrosion due to the high salt content in the air. This corrosion can lead to a variety of problems, including reduced electrical conductivity, overheating, and even electrical fires. Therefore, it's crucial to take proactive steps to protect your electrical panel from the damaging effects of salt air. One of the most effective methods for protecting electrical connections from corrosion is the application of dielectric grease. Dielectric grease is a non-conductive, waterproof lubricant that creates a barrier between metal surfaces and the surrounding environment. This barrier prevents moisture, salt, and other corrosive elements from reaching the metal, thereby reducing the risk of corrosion. When selecting a dielectric grease for use in coastal environments, it's important to choose a product that is specifically designed for marine applications. These greases are typically formulated with additives that provide enhanced corrosion protection and resistance to salt water. NoAlux is a popular brand of dielectric grease that is specifically designed for use in electrical connections. It is a non-hardening, non-melting compound that provides excellent corrosion protection in coastal environments. Silicon-based dielectric greases are another good option for coastal environments. These greases are available in commercial and industrial grades and offer good corrosion protection and moisture resistance. While Vaseline has been traditionally used as a corrosion inhibitor, it is not as effective as dielectric grease and may not provide long-term protection in coastal environments. Vaseline is a petroleum jelly that can dry out over time, leaving the metal surfaces exposed to corrosion. Anti-corrosion tapes are self-adhesive tapes that can be wrapped around bus bars to provide corrosion protection. However, these tapes may not offer the same level of protection as dielectric grease, as they can be difficult to apply properly and may not provide a complete seal against moisture. When applying dielectric grease, it's important to apply it liberally to all bus bar surfaces, breaker terminals, and other metal-to-metal connections in the service panel. Be sure to clean the surfaces thoroughly before applying the grease to remove any dirt, dust, or existing corrosion. It's also important to reapply dielectric grease periodically, especially after significant environmental exposure or maintenance work. This will ensure that the electrical connections remain protected from corrosion. Check the manufacturer's warranty for specific requirements regarding the use of dielectric grease, as some warranties may require its application. Using dielectric grease on bus bars and breaker terminals in a service panel near the ocean is a highly recommended practice for corrosion protection. By following these tips, you can help to ensure that your electrical panel remains safe and reliable for many years to come. Remember to always disconnect the power before working on any electrical equipment and consult with a qualified electrician if you have any questions or concerns. Corrosion in electrical panels can lead to several issues, including increased resistance, which causes heat buildup and energy loss. This can ultimately lead to premature failure of components and potentially hazardous situations. Therefore, employing preventative measures is crucial, especially in harsh environments. Dielectric grease works by creating a physical barrier. This barrier prevents electrolytes, like salt water, from reaching the metal surfaces. Without the presence of electrolytes, the electrochemical reactions that cause corrosion cannot occur. The grease also fills in microscopic imperfections on the metal surface, further preventing moisture and contaminants from penetrating. Selecting the right type of dielectric grease is important. While general-purpose dielectric greases are available, those specifically formulated for marine or coastal applications offer enhanced protection. These specialized greases often contain additives that provide superior resistance to salt water and other corrosive elements. The application process is straightforward but requires attention to detail. Firstly, disconnect the power to the circuit or panel you're working on to ensure safety. Secondly, clean the metal surfaces thoroughly. Remove any existing corrosion, dirt, or debris using a wire brush or other appropriate cleaning tool. Thirdly, apply the dielectric grease liberally. Ensure that all surfaces are coated, especially areas where metal parts come into contact. Do not be afraid to use a generous amount of grease, as it will not impede electrical conductivity. Finally, reassemble the components and restore power. Regular inspection and maintenance are essential for long-term protection. Periodically inspect the electrical panel for signs of corrosion or damage. If you notice any issues, reapply dielectric grease as needed. Consider reapplying the grease every few years, even if there are no visible signs of corrosion, as the grease can degrade over time. When using anti-corrosion tapes as an alternative, ensure that the surfaces are clean and dry before application. Wrap the tape tightly around the bus bars, overlapping each layer to create a complete seal. However, be aware that tapes may not be as effective as dielectric grease in preventing moisture intrusion. It's also important to consider the long-term effects of different products on the electrical components. Some products may react with certain materials, leading to degradation or failure. Always check the manufacturer's recommendations and compatibility charts before using any product on your electrical panel. Proper grounding is another important aspect of corrosion prevention. Ensure that the electrical panel is properly grounded to prevent stray currents from flowing through the system. Stray currents can accelerate corrosion and damage electrical components. By implementing these practices, you can significantly reduce the risk of corrosion in electrical panels located in coastal environments. This will help to ensure the safe and reliable operation of your electrical system for years to come. Always remember to prioritize safety when working with electrical equipment and consult with a qualified electrician if you have any doubts or concerns. The presence of chlorides in coastal environments accelerates the corrosion process. Chlorides act as catalysts, speeding up the electrochemical reactions that lead to the breakdown of metal. This is why electrical panels located near the ocean are particularly vulnerable to corrosion. The selection of materials used in the construction of the electrical panel can also influence its resistance to corrosion. Stainless steel and aluminum are more resistant to corrosion than carbon steel. However, even these materials can corrode over time if they are not properly protected. In addition to dielectric grease and anti-corrosion tapes, there are other methods for protecting the electrical panels from corrosion. These include the use of corrosion-resistant coatings, such as epoxy paint, and the installation of dehumidifiers to reduce moisture levels in the air. The frequency of inspections and maintenance should be increased in coastal environments. Regular inspections can help to identify and address potential problems before they lead to significant damage. During inspections, pay close attention to areas where moisture and salt can accumulate, such as around conduit entrances and cable connections. When reapplying dielectric grease, be sure to remove any old grease and clean the surfaces thoroughly before applying the new grease. This will ensure that the new grease provides optimal protection. It's also important to keep the electrical panel clean and free of debris. Dust, dirt, and other contaminants can trap moisture and accelerate corrosion. Regularly clean the panel with a soft brush or vacuum cleaner. The design and layout of the electrical panel can also influence its susceptibility to corrosion. Avoid creating areas where moisture can accumulate, such as low spots or enclosed spaces. Ensure that there is adequate ventilation to allow moisture to evaporate. The use of sealants and gaskets can help to prevent moisture from entering the electrical panel. Apply sealants around conduit entrances and other openings to create a watertight seal. Replace worn or damaged gaskets to maintain a tight seal. In some cases, it may be necessary to relocate the electrical panel to a less corrosive environment. If possible, move the panel to a location that is further away from the ocean or that is better protected from the elements. When selecting electrical components for use in coastal environments, choose components that are specifically designed for marine or harsh environments. These components are typically constructed of corrosion-resistant materials and are designed to withstand the effects of salt water and other corrosive elements. It's also important to consider the effects of temperature on corrosion. Corrosion rates typically increase with temperature. Therefore, it's important to ensure that the electrical panel is adequately cooled to prevent overheating and accelerated corrosion. The use of surge protection devices can help to protect electrical components from damage caused by voltage surges. Voltage surges can also contribute to corrosion by creating localized areas of high voltage stress. Regular testing of the electrical system can help to identify and address potential problems before they lead to significant damage. Testing should include insulation resistance testing, ground impedance testing, and voltage drop testing. The results of these tests can help to identify areas where corrosion is occurring or where the electrical system is not performing as it should. By implementing these practices, you can significantly extend the life of your electrical panel and prevent costly repairs. Always remember to prioritize safety when working with electrical equipment and consult with a qualified electrician if you have any questions or concerns. In addition to the above considerations, it is also important to be aware of the specific regulations and codes that apply to electrical installations in coastal environments. These regulations and codes may specify additional requirements for corrosion protection, such as the use of specific types of materials or the installation of grounding systems. It is important to consult with a qualified electrician or electrical inspector to ensure that your electrical installation complies with all applicable regulations and codes. Failure to comply with these regulations and codes can result in fines, penalties, or even the shutdown of your electrical system. The long-term cost of corrosion can be significant, including the cost of repairs, replacements, and downtime. By investing in corrosion prevention measures, you can save money in the long run and avoid the inconvenience of electrical system failures. It is also important to consider the environmental impact of corrosion. Corrosion can release harmful substances into the environment, such as heavy metals and other pollutants. By preventing corrosion, you can help to protect the environment and reduce your environmental footprint. The selection of corrosion prevention measures should be based on a thorough assessment of the specific environmental conditions and the potential risks of corrosion. This assessment should take into account factors such as the salinity of the air, the humidity level, the temperature range, and the presence of other corrosive elements. It is also important to consider the life cycle cost of different corrosion prevention measures. Some measures may have a higher initial cost but may provide longer-term protection and lower maintenance costs. Other measures may have a lower initial cost but may require more frequent maintenance and may not provide the same level of protection. The selection of corrosion prevention measures should be based on a careful evaluation of all of these factors.